Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, the place where we not only talk about what's going on in the gun world, but also how we're going to fix it together. And the content that we're going to talk about tonight is when the zenith of gun control appears to be reached. Fear not, for they will tread out the Obama, gun salesman of the decade, to tell us, and I quote, gun ownership has become ideological, and it's a shame it's gotten to that point. I wonder why. That's what we're going to talk about. Everything is linked in the description box below, and this one is not going to disappoint. You are going to want to send this one out. And if you are new or you're a returning viewer, please consider hitting that like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, and also make sure you turn that notification bell on. We need as many of you as possible to get in here with us so we can pass the blessing of the Second Amendment to the next generation through sharing information just like this. And today's content is brought to you by AccuFire. Now, AccuFire has a lot of things that might give you a little bit better picture of what you're looking at on the range. Might help you see a little bit more clearly and really add that extra element of sight into your range experience. You guys can figure out what I'm talking about. They have sponsored this content, and thank you so much to AccuFire for making this possible. But my brothers and sisters, just when you think that we have reached the pinnacle of gun control rhetoric, here comes Obama. Let's get him out of the closet. Let's make it happen. Listen to what he has to tell us. Barack Obama says gun ownership has become a growing ideological and partisan issue. I cannot wait to read the comments on this one. It couldn't be because this guy is responsible for 8 years of elevated gun buying because he spent 8 years attacking the Second Amendment and making a partisan and ideological issue, trying to reinstate a 1994 assault weapons ban, very similar to what we've seen with the Bidatron. I really wonder sometimes if they have any self-awareness at all. But anyway, let's keep going. Like I said, everything is linked, but I've got to show you some really interesting statements. Then I'm going to show you a Republican that's really making me uncomfortable. Check this out. Former President Barack Obama is urging Americans to have a dialogue about gun violence as the U.S. recently surpassed 200 mass shootings so far this year, according to CBS News data. Yeah, it's also according to Gun Violence Archive, which is a biased source because there have not been 200 traditionally viewed mass shootings in this country. We have a mass violence problem because the hearts and minds of this country are trash right now because we don't have a moral or ethical standard. But that's a different thing for a different channel. Let me get you into what Obama, in his folksy wisdom, is bringing to us. Quote, I think somehow, and there are a lot of historical reasons for this, gun ownership in this country became an ideological issue. And a partisan issue in ways that it shouldn't be, Obama told Burleson, who's interviewing him. Quote, it has become sort of a proxy for arguments about our culture wars, Urban versus rural, race is always an element in these issues of class and education and so forth. You know what I really love? I would really love to have a conversation about the actual issue you're trying to address without coming in and bringing different buckets and demographics and splitting people apart based off of those buckets and demographics. Because you can't just have a conversation around the fact that there's violence in our nation because we are a violent nation in our hearts and minds right now. No. You have to say there's a gun violence problem probably because education, there's race, there's wealth, there's all sorts of things that could probably easily be blamed and we don't have to adjust any of our own behaviors. Anyway, I digress. You can tell that's kind of one of my soapboxes because that's why it's an ideological and partisan divide, because you're trying to take natural rights of an entire citizenry through their Second Amendment. Anyway, let me show you a Republican who's a little concerning. This guy, by the way. But any action would face staunch resistance in an increasingly divided Congress. Quote, we have to recognize that we can ban these weapons, but there's millions already out there. Louisiana Republican Senator Bill Cassidy told CBS Mornings last week, and somebody who decides to obtain one illegally probably can. Now, if I give him the benefit of the doubt here, he's saying that criminals are going to criminal and they're going to illicitly get firearms because they're breaking the law. It's already illegal for them to have them, so they're going to break the law to get them. That's probably where he was going. But maybe if we're on the gun rights side of the argument, we don't lead with, well, we could ban them. I mean, that's a thing. But then they just get them anyway. Maybe we just leave that first part off. Maybe we just get that out of here. Come on, Louisiana, you better than this. Anyway, let me get back to Obama because this is just, here we go to cars. Quote, instead of just taking a very practical approach, like we do, let's say, for example, with car safety, where we say, quote, all right, we got a bunch of accidents, let's have seatbelts. And let's make cars safer, and let's engineer our roads so that we prevent them, Obama observed. Instead of thinking about it in a very pragmatic way, we end up really arguing about identity and emotion and all kinds of stuff that does not have to do with keeping our children safe. All right. The reason that there's some emotion involved is because this is a Second Amendment right of an entire country. This is built into our Bill of Rights. It's right behind the first one, freedom of speech. There are men and women who have shed their blood, sweat, and tears for these rights so that we get to inherit them, so that we have them to pass them on to the next generation. There's a reason that on this channel I say every single video we're going to pass the blessing on to the next generation, the Second Amendment. That's because it was passed down to us through our blood, sweat, and tears of our forebears. There's a very specific reason that it's so emotional, because it is part of our identity. It is part of the American experience. The violence and the unethical attacks and just murderous behavior is not an American experience. That is an ethical and moral issue. They are separate. We're not going to say because rich people, we're not going to say because dumb people, educated people, affluent people, people in the right social strata, none of that crap. The fact is, we have a very serious problem, and it has nothing to do with what's in our hands, in our hearts, and our heads. Anyway, for him to go back to cars, again, conflates two different things. Cars are not a right, they are a privilege. It does not say in the Constitution, your right to bear a car shall not be infringed. Keep and bear a car, by the way, shall not be infringed. It doesn't say anything like that. In fact, that's a vehicle that can be taken away from you, just like, I don't know, a lot of your other rights can be taken away from you if you're a felon. But the whole point here is this is not something that is analogous. You cannot say cars and guns. They always do this because it's just one of the games that they play. Shall not be infringed does not mean shall not be infringed unless you make an analogy to a car. And that's what I've got for you. So you guys, what do you think? Why would they trot out Obama, bring him out of the closet, get these real good dividing issues, think about here with gun control, and couch it in a pragmatic and very calm, solution-based manner? Yeah. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I will see you on the next one. I'm Braden. See you later.